A lot of fast men in this field, and additionally our 60 and 70 plus race, definitely some super fast men. So just a couple of seconds away from the start. Here we go then. In the 50 plus race with 34 riders. In the 60 plus race, 16 riders.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the 2024 Louisville Criterium in Louisville, Colorado. I'm Carrick Mitchell with Stem Siders Racing, and we're in the 50 plus category 1, 2, 3 field. It's a beautiful day for a bike race. The video speaks for itself. Temperature's great. It's nice to ride in some short sleeves. In fact, I ended up with a bit of a sunburn today. But we jump right into it. Louisville, as you can see from years past, if you look at my other videos from this race on this channel, got a fair bit of elevation change. We dive down to the bottom of the course, and now this right-hander leads us into a power climb that leads back to the start-finish. And the exit of that corner is a bit of a bottleneck. And unless the front of the field is drilling it, if you're not at the front, you're probably getting on the brakes coming into that corner. So you want to keep your momentum, but inevitably you seem to have to bleed off some speed. But I moved up to the front for this time up the hill. We got the curb bumps out on us on the right-hand side, but the 50 plus field, they're fast enough to make it interesting, but they are safe, and I love riding with this group. But power climb to the finish. I moved to the front because I just didn't know what my legs were going to do today. Life has been happening at a frantic pace. A funny anecdote on that later, but here we go towards the finish of the first lap.
Leading the guys through first lap now, done and dusted.
So one interesting feature of this race, well, I mean, I guess every year it happens, but we've got the new crop of folks in this age group, and there's just some notable names who are joining us this year. Carlos Casali, Sean Betts, let's see, with Black Swift Cycleton, we've got Justin Little and Russ Griffin, all aging up. They'll be turning 50 this year, and so they're racing the 50 plus now. Of course, they can still race 40 plus, and a lot of them will probably double up. But yeah, we got a fresh infusion of horsepower, but that's all part of the game. So you'll see me moving up when I can. If the group slows down, that's a good time to move up without too much energy expenditure. 2 laps down. But yeah, well, we've got some new folks in the field. We've got the usual suspects. We've got Norm Alvis, as always. I didn't see much of him, but I'll go ahead and shout out to Dan Schrad, who moved from pedal, then physio, over to Black Swift Cycleton. I think that's him moving up ahead of me in the white jersey. We've got on the right side, just going out of frame there, Chris Parsons, the Parsender himself. Always a threat in any race, and he'll do well today. And Dan Berger also with Black Swift Cycleton. Oh, there's Dan on the left there. But once more, going through the corner at the bottom of the hill, it's a bottleneck, and it gets your attention. It's tempting to dive bomb, but are you going to have a place to go is the question once you get to the apex. So back into the power climb we go. The lap times here are pretty quick. I mean, as you can see, that last one was 1:45. I think the fastest lap we'll have in this race is mid-130s. But this race is really a question of, have you been doing hill repeats? And again, it's a power climb. You can see we're going 26 miles an hour. Now, as we get towards the top of the hill, towards the finish line, we have a bit of a tailwind. I think that shifted a bit later in the day, but yeah, on that hill, it's really just a matter of preserving what speed you can at the bottom, and then just getting on the power and not overdoing it. There's usually not a reason to, and today we didn't really drill it up the hill. I'm grateful for that, but don't let the gap open, and then you don't have to close it. But this bottom section here, we got a headwind. You can see the group kind of getting wide, and then we go through the sweeping right-hander leading into the 90-degree right that narrows down, and you can see we've really got to slow down. So in the lower parts of the hill, at least, the wind is coming from the left, so it's favorable to get off to the right a bit, but then you got to watch for the bump out in the curb coming up. But again, the field was being really generous with leaving folks room. There's not that much wind. I mean, had there been a lot of wind, you would have seen the whole group shifted more to the right than it is. But it was a beautiful day for a race. It was nice. So full disclosure, this isn't really going to be a very interesting race. I wasn't very aggressive. I don't think I really saw the front other than maybe briefly on the first lap. But, I didn't know how my legs were going to be today. Life has been happening at a furious pace. Work has been kicking my butt. My kids have had a lot of stuff going on. It's an exciting time. My oldest graduated from college. We'll be going off to grad school in the fall out east, and there's just a lot going on. So you can see now a couple of riders have broken away. I'll probably keep better tabs on the race watching the video than I did during the race, but there were a couple preems on offer. This is day 2 out of 3 of the Boulder Omnium. Yesterday was a uphill time trial. Today's the crit. Tomorrow's road race, really circuit race, on a portion of the Morgul-Bismarck loop just south of here. So the preems on offer today are Omnium points. I'm only racing today, so yeah, I'm going to miss it really on my radar screen. But you can see, even with the kind of the group getting wide and bottlenecking and having to slow down coming into that corner at the bottom of the hill, we're all managing to keep it together. You know, you get back on the power as fast as you can. You don't slow any more than you have to, but the idea is that you shouldn't have to close a gap. So yeah, I'm having to put down the watts coming up the hill, but it's manageable. So one thing I noticed was when looking at my data later and comparing it with other guys from this race, my average speed was lower, even though I didn't finish that far off the front. I did that far from the front, and my distance was lower. And I almost wonder if that's because the vast majority of the time I was on the inside of the group. It could just be, hey, GPS, you got some variation, but I normally took an inside line. It's just where I was comfortable. But I just thought that was kind of funny. I ended up averaging 26, and the person who finished third, I won't name him just yet for the sake of building tension, had like 26.4 miles an hour. I finished 7 seconds behind him. So, I don't know. See all my data along the bottom of the screen from left to right. I've got my GPS track coming to the finish here. I got a little bar indicating the finish line. I've got my lap times. The top lap time is the best lap. Then let's see, we got power and watts, obviously speed, miles per hour, distance and pedal cadence, and then the graph for heart rate on the right side. And that really just goes to show how up and down this course is. You got the climb, obviously your heart rate spikes and it's downhill. And really on this bottom part that we're on right now, since it was a headwind, you really didn't have to put down a lot of power here, so you really could recover that entire half of the course. So your heart rate is just up, down, up, down, up, down. It's an interval workout. So here I am talking to Chris saying, hey, I'm on your inside. I'm still a little timid about sticking my nose in on corners. I don't want to run out of room at the apex of the corner. So sometimes I'll tell people, hey man, I'm here, maybe unnecessarily, but I'd rather do that and make sure I got room. But what you don't want to do is dive bomb the corner. And sometimes folks do that, but just, you're taking a risk when you dive up the inside of the field. If the field's slowing down and you dive to the inside, you're really hoping that you got room at the apex of the corner. So be careful. Oh, and here's the fun part. So we started 20 seconds in front of the 60-plus field, and here we are catching them. And there's nothing that says they can't mix in with us. Well, they're going to do that, but I really want to get past them. And coming into the first corner here, I just barely do it, but have a little gap form there. So we've got, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 fields. We're the 50-plus, the 60-plus we just passed. There's also a 70-plus field, but they may have been mixed with the 60-plus at the start. I'm not sure. But for reference, the numbers starting with 2, the 200s are the 50-plus. I think going up through like 305 and then 306 and up are the older categories. But they'll all get mixed up at the end, so the field will get bigger. Just makes for interesting racing. And another thing you'll see on occasion, in fact I think it's about to happen here, is a rider who's getting dropped or lapped. We catch slower riders, and you got to watch for them. Sometimes they'll kind of come rocketing back through the peloton. Ideally, a rider who's getting lapped is going to be, off the racing line. Like here, he'd be on the far left side of the road, but that doesn't always work out. So one of the things you got to watch for. So here, now that we're past the bump out, I started trying to move up into the field, move back, so I'm content with my position. But so far, I've been keeping the power output under control, going up the hill. And let's see, we're what? This is like the 9th, yeah, lap 9. So 9 down, 17 to go. So far, my interval workout's off to a good start. So here I noticed that there's a gap. Holy crap, how did that happen? And, well, again, we're on this headwind part. I believe at this point the gap is just going to take care of itself. I don't think the front of the group is drilling it, but I'm getting a little anxious here. I don't want to have this split form. But it doesn't look that... It looks like we really should roll right back up on them, but it takes a little longer. And I'm telling the guys here, roll, roll, roll. Stay off the brakes. Go, go, go. So again, the gap doesn't look that big, but we'll get to the top of the hill and it's still there. You can hear right there, I'm a little exasperated at the moment. It's like, well, I guess I could take matters into my own hands and try to jump up there, but the gap isn't that big. We got enough horsepower here, we should be able to close that pretty easily. So, we'll see. Yeah, I felt like I was running out of room in that corner. Now you can see how we're strung out right now, so yeah, there is definitely an effort being made to close the gap, but it just seems like it took longer than it should have. But again, if I'm not happy, I'm always free to get up there and burn my own calories. But
roll it, roll it, roll it.
But yeah, right there, I'm saying roll it, roll it, roll it. Roll this corner, don't slow down, keep it going. Because we don't want to lose momentum at the bottom of the hill and suddenly have that gap get to where we can't close it down. And now we're pretty much all back together. But there have been plenty of other times where a gap, like we saw a lap ago, would have been insurmountable if at that point the front of the group is really drilling it. But I don't know. From my point of view, this race didn't seem that aggressive. Maybe that means my fitness is better than I thought. Maybe that means I should have been more aggressive. Really, if things bunch up, I mean, a younger, more sprightlier me would... more sprightlier, what does that mean? A younger and more adventurous me would have been jumping off the front. But today, again, I'm just happy to be part of the peloton. And so far, so good. And so looking at my heart rate graph, you'll see that, the process of closing that gap, there was a little spike in the heart rate. Now, things will actually slow down a bit. Kind of recover a bit. So I've got my GoPro mounted just to the right of my stem, facing forward, obviously, and you can just see my rear brake lever at the right edge of the screen. So you can see when I'm on the brakes, and you know, some laps I just completely biff it and realize I'm rolling into the back of the field, right at the corner. Other times I'll feather the brake a bit earlier and get a bit of a gap that I can control, and then roll through the corner, get back on the power right at the apex of the turn, or even pedal through it. And well, there's another slow rider on the right side. Yeah, you always got to be looking ahead. You don't want to be head down and running to the back of somebody. But yeah, always, again, watch for gaps. In fact, you saw the rider wave us through, and that's the universal symbol for, yeah, I'm done. And it's real easy to get taken right out of contention if you're sitting on a wheel and then realize that wheel is not part of the race. Actually, talking about, I talked earlier about you got to watch for riders who are getting lapped, riders who have sat up. Now, some races they'll pull riders who are out of contention. I don't think they were pulling. No, they weren't pulling riders today, in part because there were 3 separate age groups racing. That, what are you going to do? Pull all the 70+ guys out if they get lapped? No. So. I'm all in favor of letting people race, but it's the officials' call in the end. It's a headache for them to try to keep track of riders on multiple laps. But sometimes I wonder if that's what dissuades people from doing criteriums, is the thought of, if I get dropped, and there you can see a little bit of aggro there. Nice little maneuver around the curb. But anyway, I don't want for people to not want to do crits because they're afraid they'll get pulled. I don't know. It's a tricky situation, but get out there and race your bike. So another thing you want to do in a crit is figure out where the problems on the road are. And on the downhill here, there are 3 manhole covers real close to the solid white line for the bike lane, and I hit those more often than I care to recall. Kind of embarrassing, really, but you got to remember where the smooth lines are. I kept hitting the teeny tiny little water valve covers on this stretch. There was one on the center line that I kept nailing. And the thing is that the GoPro has such good image stabilization that you can't really see that, but I felt it. But yeah, know where the imperfections on the road are, know where you can ride over the curb, because you're gonna see those features over and over again. So I ain't gonna lie, I have no idea what was going on in this race. I just heard the announcer say, here's an opportunity for Black Swift Cycleton to put a rider on the brake, and I'm like, what brake? What's going on? But yeah, I need to be more a factor in races, but I think if I'm coming in with a better base of fitness, it'll make more sense for me to do that. But you can see how the front of the group's strung out right now. And let's see how things are going into this corner. I'm watching my brake lever. I'm feathering the brake just a little bit, just a teeny tiny bit. But I was able to rail the corner that time. Didn't drop below 25 miles an hour. So that was one of the few laps that I was able to do that. And it definitely makes for a much more efficient lap. You know, you can see, well, I wasn't watching my power at the bottom part of the hill, but definitely better to fly through that corner than get on the brakes and have to re-accelerate. But if the folks in front of you are slowing down, what can you do? And I don't see the lead moto now. Let's see once we get inside of the finish, what's going on up the road.
Second wheel, pardon me.
Yeah, just in case if I didn't know if that rider knew I was there. And yep, nailed one manhole. Nailed a second, and I think I'll go inside the third. But this is a fun course. I must say. The pavement's in good shape. Yeah, it's just the manhole covers you got to watch for. You know, it's fun. It's up and down. It's fast. So thanks to Without Limits Productions for keeping it going. And here's there's Dan Shred. Dan was having a tough day. He got dropped, but he got back in the field and stuck with us to finish just one lap down. But these early season races are tough. There's some guys have been training all winter, and others who are still building fitness. There's another case of a rider coming back through the field after being lapped. Just got to watch for it. Saw the rider in front of me take a drink. For those still moving up through the ranks, don't forget to drink. You gotta keep your hydration going. Criterium is generally going to be short enough you don't need nutrition. I just had a bottle of Scratch hydration mix, so you get some electrolytes, a little bit of sugar in there, but you're not really having to eat during a crit. I typically will carry a gel in case of emergency, maybe a gel with caffeine. Of course, if you do that, you want to make sure you give it some time to kick in. So don't take a caffeine gel right at the end. It's not going to do you any good. But pretty much, I was frequently grabbing a drink on this stretch here. If things were pretty stable, I just grabbed the bottle real quick, and I was just about out by the end of the race. That's unusual for me. Again, we're coming in pretty strung out, just a little feather of the brakes just to manage that gap coming in, and back on the power. So you can see how I'm moving up on the guys in front of me right now before they start re-accelerating. So there you can see we've all moved over to the left. We're passing one of the other fields, the 60 plus right now, and I'm really wishing we'd finish the pass. You'll hear me say it in a minute.
Finish the pass.
That's on the front of the field. Pull up the hills and then
Well, again, in the end, nothing says that the 60 plus riders aren't allowed to mix with us, and that's just how it's going to be. But now I'll need to start paying attention to numbers. Again, generally the 300 bit numbers are the 60 plus, and the 200s are the 50 plus. It doesn't really matter because a lot of the 60 plus guys are easily strong enough to hang on, stronger than I am, hell. But it does make for a bit of a different dynamic. And it just means if I'm tail gunning, they can be even farther from the front of the group. Getting a bit crazy. We caught lapped riders both on the right side and the left side. I was saying stay right, addressing the lapped rider on the right side. Of course, that didn't make sense for anyone else in the peloton. I'd want for them to stay left, but I don't know. I'm still antsy about having someone not know I'm there, move into me, something like that. I don't want to wreck. None of us do. We're all old enough that if we wreck, we're not going to bounce, we're going to splat. I learned that when I broke my pelvis a couple years ago, crashing on some ice. But thankfully, these Masters, the Masters 1, 2, 3s, are, like as I'm fond of saying, fast enough to make it interesting, but smooth and safe. And really, it's a pleasure riding in this field. And some of the history there, the palmares of a lot of these riders, their athletic achievements are breathtaking. So just to be riding here with them is tremendous. These guys didn't need me to tell them to go around, but I don't want to get bogged down. I'm not on the limit, certainly, but I made it this far. I don't want to get dropped down. But you can see, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 or 8 laps to go. They'll start counting down from 6. Free laps will end with 6. So the rule in the Criterium, if you have a legitimate mishap, it's typically going to be a flat tire or a crash. You make your way back to the pits near the start-finish, present yourself there, make repairs, switch out wheels, or just get recombobulated after a crash, and they'll put you back in without penalty. But you have to re-enter the race before free laps expire. So free laps ended with 6 to go, so you need to be reinserted into the field before the field crosses the line with 6 to go. And after that, if you have a mishap, tough luck. You can still pit, you can still change your wheel and get back in the race, but you are behind at that point. But that's part of the fun of criteriums. And I know that folks think, oh, free lap, it's kind of cheating. You do one less lap than everyone else, but if you're in a situation where you need a free lap, that's stressful. And you're having to rejoin the field from a standstill.
All mixed up too.
So here I'm talking with Pippo Capraro, one of my riding buddies. I was just saying I realized I was racing with him. I'm not sure I've ever raced with him before. I've ridden with him plenty of times, but Pippo's turning 60 this year, so he's now a 60-plus rider. He can still race in the 40-plus 4s, for example, but there we saw 6 to go, so free laps are over. But anyway, salute to a Pippo. Yeah, that was fun. Again, ideally, if you're a lapped rider, you're staying off the racing line. But you know, sometimes the racing line changes from one side to the other, and if it's just bad timing when you get caught, well, then we just have to deal with it. But again, always watch ahead. And there on my left in the Celeste socks, my brother from another mother, Dan Berger. My punk rockin' alter ego. He and I always have fun together. He's a far better racer than I am, but more from Dan later. But Dan riding with the Black Swift Cycleton, living the dream. So apologies to all my fans for only running the single camera today. I actually left the house without any GoPros. Thought about it. Yeah, I better run a camera today. I just wouldn't feel right not to. But I wasn't enterprising enough to bring both cameras and put one on the back as well. I don't think I was tail gunning that bad today. And it is kind of cool, you know, looking back, seeing the facial expressions and all that. But wanted to keep it simple today, so just the single camera. So that was one of the few times I went on the outside through that corner. Didn't have to slow quite as much, looking at the minimum speed, I think it was 23. We're getting down near the end. Now, you can see from my heart rate, it's not going to spike that high, so there's not a whole lot of driving going on. I'm going to guess that the winning brake has already gone. 2 riders ended up off the front. So I'll point out that for this recording, I've stolen my oldest's microphone, which is way better than any microphone I've ever used. But apparently I have to be careful not to unplug the cord, because if that happens, my video editor crashes and I just lost a bunch of commentary snippets. Sigh. But, however many more laps we got, looks like 4 laps to go. Not a whole lot to talk about. I mean, you can see, looking at my heart rate graph, really things are reasonably chill. I mean, I think folks are trying to bridge up to the brake, but it's not working, but it's keeping the field a bit strung out, so we're able to maintain a bit more speed through the bottom of the curve. My heart rate doesn't spike as high going up the hill. Yeah, it was actually either a chill race or my form is better than I think it is. But let me go ahead and so I'll tell you a funny. So you see Dan Berger, Black Swift Cycleton, and the Celeste green socks just ahead. 2 riders ahead, 3 riders ahead on my right. So I'll go ahead and point out that for the final sprint, I actually set a top 45-second power output for the year so far, and I was proud of that. And I even finished in front of Dan, which that usually doesn't happen. And I pointed that out to him, and he responded by showing me that his saddle had shifted and was pointing down about 20 degrees. And I'm like, oh, dude, can't you just give me this high point of my day? But no, it wasn't meant to be. But always a pleasure racing with Dan. All these guys, really. It's a safe, fast field. But hopefully I'm conveying enough little nuggets of wisdom that newer racers or folks who are interested in racing want to know what it's all about. Well, this is what it is. I mean, you're seeing it from the inside. And again, with practice, you get more comfortable around other riders. It's all about protecting your front wheel, protecting your handlebars. I maybe do that a bit too much. I will give up positions, and that's how I end up tail gunning. But in the end, if you're smooth is fast is safe is kind of the way it goes. And this group is an exemplification of that. I don't even know if that's a word. But let's see. Up the hill, we'll see 2 to go this time. Not a whole lot more commentary. Enjoy the race. Thanks for viewing. Hopefully I'll get my CU crit video up. I just need to add commentary. But kudos to everybody. Let's see. Carlos Casali wins out of a breakaway. Benjamin Sharp second, also in the break. Chris Parsons wins the field sprint for third. And I ended up 20th out of 32, which, hey, in this group, I'm pretty pleased with that. So. The last thing I'll point out is the last lap of this race was actually my second fastest time, personally, of this course. And over the years, I've done over 150 racing laps. So the field was strung out enough. We were strung out coming into the 90-degree corner at the bottom of the hill, so I was able to go through that fast. And then I think we had basically a tailwind coming up the hill, and I set my best 45-second power for the year so far, and ended up with a fast lap time. So pleased with that. So that's it for now. Enjoy the rest of the race, and we'll see you next time.